Meeting's being recorded now.
I'll let you, but we'll figure it out in a second.
Should say admit one, maybe.
He's here.
Doesn't say admit anyway.
Oh, here I am. Can you turn on screen sharing? So if you come down to, well, I can do it.
I know. Where is it? Where
Is it
did
under screen share? Is it here? Advanced sharing office? All participants. Great. Now, I just want to see if I can share this.
There we go. Look at that.
There you go.
Good.
Oh, you lost it.
That's all right.
I lost it.
On the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll call the July 7th Board of Selectmen's meeting to order. We'll start with the minutes of June 16th. I'll move the minutes of June 16th. John, do I hear a second? Second. Tom seconds. Any discussion? No discussion? All right, all in favor? All right, carry, so.
Pass these
Hello.
down, y'all.
Sorry, haven't missed anything yet.
Good.
Yep.
Oh, you voted on.
We just passed the minutes of the 16th.
I'll go along.
All right, so we've got, we'll go on financial reports, payroll accounts, AP1. Payroll account. One, right? One, number one. All right, and here a second?
I'll second.
Mark seconds. Any discussion?
I get a question.
Yeah.
On Chase excavating, the manholes that are down there are higher than, you know, I'm thinking of plowing. You know, are they gonna adjust those or?
It's on the, are you on the payroll?
No, that's a question
Accounts
I have.
payable.
Before we pay them, don't they adjust those?
Yeah, they should.
No.
Yeah, accounts payable. Sorry, we're on,
AP 101?
Okay, well, on the Chase, yeah, they have to even those up, so I'm not sure exactly what the story is there.
So what I'm saying is, do we hold out that payment until they do that? If you pay them, this is the last payment, right?
Yeah.
That's,
you can approve it, hold it, until you get a question answered.
Yeah, I'd ask you to approve it. They've had this, this invoice into us for quite a while, and Wright Pierce has finally worked with them on quantities. It actually dropped $20,000. So if there's any questions about their work performance, we can hold the check until we get those addressed. But I'd ask you to approve the warrant payment tonight.
until they fix
I
it.
thought you weren't.
I'm trying payroll.
I thought it was on payroll.
Okay.
I think I skipped, yeah, I think I got my, I called, yeah, I went from payroll AP1, right?
AP1.
AP1, okay. Yeah, so we've got a motion, we've got a second on AP1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Start of the discussion.
Yeah, discussion, all in favor?
With the question about arises.
And then I got AP warrant 75. So I'll make a motion to approve that. Okay, Josh, would I hear a second? Second. Tom seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? All right. That leaves us with, yeah, warrant 75, right?
Yep.
Okay.
74.
74. So we've got,
This is 74.
And 75 is the Chase.
I got the 75.
Chase one, right?
AP warrant, 75.
75. Sorry, I got
74.
my numbers messed up there.
That's all right.
And this is payroll warrant 74, Daryl.
Move the payroll.
Payroll warrant
74.
I'll move payroll warrant 74.
All right. Second. 2 seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. All right, so since I got that all out of order.
That's okay.
There's always
Did we
room
get
for
them all?
improvement.
Okay.
Yes, we did.
All right. All right, we'll pass those down. Yeah, so we got the financial reports out of the way at this point with presentations. Anybody?
Maybe we've got Larry Seidlinger.
I got two for you tonight, guys.
Right.
All right. So for those who don't know me, I'm Larry Seidlinger, and I'm wearing two hats tonight. The first one is going to be about the Pumpkin Fest, and it's just basically I've been asked to give a little update of where we are at this point in the 2021 Pumpkin Fest. We are full steam ahead with all programs: the parade, the drop, the regatta, and everything in between. There may be the pie eating contest may be questionable whether we do that one, but some of the minor events may not happen. All the major events we plan on happen. We do have the comprehensive safety plan that was laid out a couple of years ago. Some of you that was here, remember we had the fire department, the police, and the EMA, emergency management people, and everybody got together. So that plan, there should be one here at the town office. If there's not, let me know and I can go back and find it. I don't know, John Roberts has got it. We may have it in our archives.
I can pull that out.
Okay. The barricades are going to be delivered Friday afternoon sometime. I would ask that we could get Hugh to help us with the forklift to unload them. He was gracious enough to do that last time. I don't know exactly how, whether Matt, you can talk to Hugh about.
Yeah.
And we'll also, and he was there Saturday morning at 6 o'clock to help us with the forklift, putting them out. I got a team of high school kids lined up. Hopefully their mothers told me they would be up and on the street. So we'll see how successful they are to put the barricades up. And the same thing Tuesday morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, they'll be coming down. We talked about doing it Monday night, but everybody's pooched. So we'll get them out first thing. Last year, 2 years ago, it took us probably an hour and a half to get them all up. Within a couple hours, the street was clean.
Larry, are these the same areas as last time?
Same amount.
Yeah.
Same amount. So
Worked out really well.
yeah, we talked about doing a few extras. Money is very tight this year, so we're just going to go with what we had. And we had one generous donator that donated the barricades for us this year. So that was a huge plus. So that's what we're going to go with there. We will have the deployment will go off on Thursday afternoon at 4 o'clock with the necessary. We haven't had our meetings with all the police yet, but we will as we get closer. Everybody, to my knowledge, is on board. Chief Wallach, Lincoln County PD, and all those folks are all on board. We are going to have the pumpkin drop at the Great Salt Bay School this year, and the bounce houses will be at the baseball field at the YMCA. The buses will be coming into Great Salt Bay, and people will walk over the Y, which we feel is a way safer. It's bus friendly. People are off Main Street or off Route 1. I just think it's going to be a way more user friendly venue. So I'm open to questions. If any, I think that's all I've got right now. Parking, we're going to be using some of Great Salt Bay. We'll also be using the Mormon Church, what used to be the old telephone building down on Route 1 across from there, and Lincoln Academy. I don't know if we'll be using, we used out on Route 1 there, Homeport last year. I'm not sure whether we'll be using that, but buses will be running. We're tentatively planning on the same number, 9 or 10 buses. Half of them will be those big yellow ones, and the other half will be small, the 25 passenger white ones. Any questions? I'm game. If I can't answer it, I'll get you an answer.
Is there anything that's not going to be included that was in the past?
There may be a catapult that we've done in the past. We're a little bit limited for space. That is very questionable whether that's going to happen. There was two reasons, not only space, but cost-wise. That was kind of a break even for us. Money's a little tight this year, so coming back from the pandemic, we just kind of watching our pennies really, really closely. So to my knowledge, that, and like I said, there may be some minor ones. We're not sure the soap, well, it's not the soap, it's the pumpkin derby, that's probably not gonna happen. We don't have enough volunteers to run that. The Rotary Club put that on in the past and they're down some members, so that one may not happen. Like I said, there's maybe some minor events that don't happen.
That was my question later. I was gonna ask you how the volunteer situation is, manpower and staff and whatnot.
Well, we never really know until
Yeah.
the bitter end, but so far it's been pretty good. That one particular, the pie eating contest, where we're kind of juggling that one, whether it should go off or not, because it's food and COVID and all that. The gentleman that ran the derby part of it, he had to order parts, and we didn't know way back in June to get them, and we didn't know whether we was even going to have a pumpkin fest. So it was almost easier just to plan not to have it and see what goes next year. And he was struggling to find volunteers for that, because that's an early bird in the morning deal. So that's, but I think the buskers are going to be on Theater Street again, so we'd like to close that down like we did with the stage in the past. The parade will be as go. We've got all the communications set up for the deployment, the walkie-talkies in case an ambulance has to get through town or anything like that. Hammond Lumber is going to do the forklifts with deployment of the pumpkins and let the party begin. So
That's good. Good news. Exciting.
yeah, and compliments to Kobe and Gale, because they let us have that parking lot to put our food vendors in. So thank you, Daryl. Send that back to the guys for us.
Probably, yeah.
Thank you very much. So any more questions or any questions about the Pumpkin Fest? And Mark, thank you to the school for that.
Yeah.
That was that's a huge plus.
Excited to see it.
Yeah, I think everybody is, excited about that. So we'll turn the pumpkin hat around if nobody's got any questions, and we'll go to Hollywood Sheepskin Road, which is a LCTV, your Lincoln County Television. Like I said, I'm Larry Seidling. I'm president of the board over there. Behind me is Jeff Kachakian. He's our technical director. And the object of the meeting tonight is, obviously, we're all here to hear how we can make this production a watchable production where people can see everybody and hear everybody nice and crisp and clear, and the video is clear. I mean, I think that is the goal. Jeff is going to lay out, he's got the whole presentation, and when he's done, he will give you all a copy of that presentation so you can look it over and ask any questions. He's the tech guy, so I'm just the guy that tells you what's going to happen here. One of the things I do want to let the board know is LCTV feels that we've put quite a little bit of time into, Jeff's put I shouldn't say we, Jeff has put a lot of time into coming up with this plan in conjunction with Dave Spence, who is also a tech guy, 40 years in the business, of what we need for parts and pieces. You've got most of them. You're not talking about a lot of money to put this together, to make it happen. So LCTV is going to donate the labor to install all this. We can do that. Your cost part is going to be the management of the meeting. Who's going to be driving the bus? I don't care how good your equipment is. If you don't have somebody good to drive it, you're not going to have a good production. So that's the part that we have to decide, or you have to decide how we're going to do that. Somebody that will come in, set this meeting up every night, record it, and put it asleep, lock it up when it's done.
Larry, you're stealing my thunder.
I know I am, but they're going to ask you questions. I spoke with Matt here a week or so ago, and we talked about the franchise fees. Just to update everybody, Damascotta gets about 20,000, just a little under 20,000 a year in franchise fees from the cable company. I don't know what the number is from Tidewater. There's also a franchise fee.
That's included in there.
That was included. Okay, that answers that question. And with that, I guess I will turn this over to Jeff to lay out the proposal.
I've got a presentation I want to.
You want to hit the lights?
Yep.
Oh,
There's never two of us. We never had to worry about this.
all right, so what we've been talking about is this space here. You obviously use this space for meetings. And what we've been talking about is finding a way to get these meetings available beyond the room. So what I want to do is, so where is it? Come on, you can do it. Oh, technical. Already, look at that.
This is why we want to set you up with good equipment, guys.
Not like your usual stuff.
No.
The goal, make it easy for the public to have access to these meetings. Now, obviously, they can come in and participate, but we've all seen what's happened the last year and a half. There are certainly considerations where other sorts of events could happen in the future, not necessarily global, but certainly, this is a possibility for, down in the future. So the goal is everyone can see and hear. If we've got visuals like we have tonight, being able to have access to those. Questions, addressing questions during the meeting. I know we've talked about that. We can talk about that a little bit more. And capturing the content, capturing the meeting. I know that as a public record, that's required. So there are lots of ways of doing it. This proposal is a sort of a comprehensive way of doing it. And what it means is you all get to focus on the meeting and not have to worry about the technology. So that's really the goal. So determining, first step I did was I figured out what was here in the room. And so what we've got here in the room is the microphones and the speakers on the ceiling and the 2 cameras in the room. So that gives you the ability to record what's happening in the room and to, both video and audio. But that's it. There's no easy way to do presentations like this without having to set up the projector and the screen, which certainly is functional, but it would be nice if it were a little more integrated. Now, beyond the room, or beyond this, what we've got here now, these additional options give you the ability to have that digital video and audio presentation capability sort of built into the room. PowerPoints, videos, etc. Recording, instead of recording on the DVD that you have now that's in the closet, we'd be able to record using digital files, and then we can, instead of sneaker netting that DVD over to LCTV, you can just email. Now, beyond the room, being able to give access to this content for folks to watch it live, we could stream it to YouTube, we could stream it to Facebook. Having that ability to have live access, I've been thinking a lot about this, and we need to really sort of give this some thought. I don't necessarily know if it's necessary for someone in Peoria to participate in our meetings, but there are some edges there that we can talk about. Remote audience can see and hear they can access the meetings, they can see this content. The way we're doing it today is great because now everyone who's remote can actually see the presentation. We can manage those meetings and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And in the case where you need a hybrid environment where someone needs to participate remotely, this will do that as well. But what we're really talking about is the ability to stream these meetings on some service like, say, YouTube. Everyone who's got a computer has access to that. It makes it a lot more available. So what we've got today, we've got these speakers in the room, we've got the cameras, we've got the microphones. In the back room there, we've got these other components. So this is what lets you record the meeting. We can record it onto a DVD. This works for the room here, but it doesn't reach beyond the room. So before I get into that, I just want to talk about a couple of things here. I want to talk about the audiences. So we've got people local here in the room. We've got people remote who want to be able to have access to that content. And I'm coming up with I want to use the word session. So we've got this meeting going on here, but I want to think about this idea of a session being the actual recording process of the meeting. So this room can be used. You can come in here and meet anytime you want. If you want to record it, let's call that a session. So we can grab those sessions and record them for public record. That audio and video output is what lets those remote people participate, see and hear the local meeting. So these cameras, these microphones can go out to the outside world and let those remote people have access to the content. And feedback, one way to do it is to, have audience, have folks supply questions ahead of time, and you can answer those during the meeting. That's one way to do it. There are other technical ways of doing it. We could have a chat feature. Then it's a question of who's managing that chat, who's watching that. So it's a question, how you address feedback is really a policy issue more than it is necessarily a technology issue. Finally, as I said before, this idea of a recorded meeting being a session management. This is so important. Without this, like Larry said, you need a bus driver. Someone's got to manage the equipment and the technology so that you can focus on your meeting. That's your job. If we can find a way to capture this, the recording process, the streaming process, the content, if someone's got a presentation, they can bring that presentation in and we can find the session manager will handle getting it shown on the screen. You don't have to worry about it. So these green elements are new elements. So what I'm thinking about is a large format display, some kind of display, either here on the wall or perhaps mounted on a mobile stand. You have another conference room here in the building, don't you?
No.
There is no other space? Okay. No.
There's one down in the police department.
So having it on a stand means you could move it in other places in the room. If there were other places in the building you wanted to meet, you could use that. The key here really is this PC. That would replace the DVD burner, and that will give you the ability to capture those meetings remotely or electronically. It'll let you connect out to the outside world. It becomes sort of the smarter brains, if you will, of the room. And going from the local room out, you use the Tidewater fiber connection that you now have. You've got that remote audience. They can now see and hear what's going on in the room. You can present that out and make that available. Audio and video, and key here, that session management. This PC is what's going to allow that session management to happen. Sorry for running back and forth. So bottom line, successful live streams and hybrid meetings need someone to focus on that. Has anyone seen this video? It is hysterical. This guy came into this live meeting as a cat, and he actually says, "I'm here live, I'm not a cat." These technology problems happen all the time. Let the session manager deal with it. It makes that session manager will make sure things run smoothly, will deal with issues, will address issues up front, and also work with you to understand how to sort of set your meetings up to make that process work more smoothly. So the screen you all want to see. So what this would do, those green elements that I had on the slide before, the large format, the PC here, the connector to allow your current cameras to connect. So the PC will also, it's the price it is because it has additional capabilities that if you choose to upgrade these cameras from analog cameras to digital cameras, that PC will be able to support those changes going forward. The large format display, the line mixer connects the current audio and the PC together. So it allows those to miscellaneous cabling. We just wanted to sort of capture, there's going to be some additional cabling as well. So that estimate is a little under 2,000. And the session management, as we talked about, we're looking at something in the realm of about $100 a month. And we figured about 40 meetings a year. We said we have, I think 40 is a reasonable number, isn't it? Is that what we talked about?
Yeah, we had 24 Board of Selectmen meetings and then 12 more or less planning board meetings and then various special meetings. Okay. So that's how we came up with the 40.
So, questions?
Jeff, those figures you quoted are pretty inexpensive based on what I know about computers and stuff, how big is that screen, for example? $700.
That's a 60 inch, I believe.
So it's just a flat screen.
Correct.
Thumb screen.
Just, there's nothing,
Smart,
yeah,
yeah.
there's nothing, I mean, just like we're using here with the screen, this idea, essentially take this projector and screen and turn it into an HDMI input display.
And the kind of PC, is that a tablet or what is it?
I would, that PC happens to be like a desktop PC that would live in the closet in there. There's no reason for it to be a laptop.
Yeah.
It's you just pay more money. A desktop would give you so for example, the number I'm quoting there gives you that ability to add other components that really are hard to add to a laptop.
So these numbers are all sort of round numbers. So you actually have estimates of something that matches those
Correct.
numbers. Okay.
Yeah, these all came from, exactly, there are models in mind for these.
Jeff, our current equipment, like the cameras, for instance, and they're compatible at this point. Do you think they still have some life left in them?
Yeah, the current, let me just pop back to that slide. The current stuff you have now is, these cameras are functional. They're analog cameras. They're not really high resolution, but they work.
Right. They still
The
work.
switcher that's in there is functional. We can take the output of that switcher and with that, there's a module I had listed in that list that would allow it to adapt to the PC. So we could take that video output and bring it into the PC.
Yeah. I'm just curious, one of those add-ons, if we get by for a couple of years and we have to add cameras in, should we do it as a,
Yeah, well,
these are functional.
the cameras are relatively inexpensive these days. A decent digital camera is probably in the $700 range each, which is not that much considering what they used to be.
Right.
If you were to go with digital cameras, the other thing that would need to be replaced is the switcher as well, because the switcher is an analog switcher. And that's probably in the $1,200 range for the switcher. So if you're looking to replace these two cameras and the switcher, it's probably $2,500.
Yeah, so definitely some cost. Yeah, I was just curious to see, as long as they have life left in them.
Yeah, they work.
Yeah.
That's always been my feeling is the equipment you have here works. As I'm listening to it, I'm hearing there's some tuning we can do with the mics and the speakers in here. There's some adjustments we could probably make to make it a little more functional. Other questions?
Jeff, I have a
Yeah,
question.
Mark.
As far as the meeting PC that you said that we could move to a different location in the building.
This is what I was talking about, the display. So that display could be mounted on the wall, or it could be on a stand that you could move around.
Okay, so what would you do if we had a meeting at the school? I guess it's one of the ones.
I'm not sure I'd leave the building with it. That's where it gets a little tricky.
Okay.
The reason I would make it mobile is so that it could not necessarily have to live here. It could be somewhere else in the room, somewhere else in the building. When you start taking equipment, large pieces of equipment like that, beyond say the building itself, there are whole other sets of issues you need to think about. I wouldn't just wheel it down the street.
So what you're saying is they have school board meetings where you can type in a question and someone's monitoring that to relay that. So in a situation here, it would be fine, but if we went to the school, it would be totally recorded. And we would, is that correct?
Not sure I understand your question.
I'm looking at it from the point of view, what would be different from here than at school?
Okay.
So if you were here having a session, you're calling it,
Uh-huh.
and you're monitoring who's.
Yep. That session manager would be handling the technical side of the meeting, yes.
And share that so that we can answer those. What would be the process at school?
That would be different because we wouldn't obviously have the cameras and the microphones. That's something that LCTV could certainly provide.
We'd have to set the
and we've done
cameras
that
up.
before. We'd set up cameras and microphones as we've done before.
Just like that.
Just like before.
The difference there, or the additional piece there, is we would need an internet connection and PC that we have
Right.
at LCTV that would serve as the meeting PC.
The only thing actually we'd need on that, Mark, is if you wanted to have a big screen monitor,
Right.
we'd have to find one, either that one in the building or, but yeah, we've got all that capabilities to do remote in-house over it. All, it's just lugging more equipment.
Yeah, there's one of the really nice idea, nice sort of benefits of this is we don't have to set up and break down. It's here, it's in the room. We've got the stuff here. We know it works because it's here in the room.
And if we're managing it, we can
So,
keep it under lock and key for you.
So that's a real plus.
Yeah, I think the biggest concern for us is making sure that citizens can, say, remotely enter, ask questions, and we're able to get those real time too, because they can do, pre-planned questions, but things come up and citizens' comments and whatnot, so.
It is tricky. And
yeah.
there's some sensitive issues there. Doing, true hybrid meetings like that, you really run the risk of, you've heard of Zoom bombing?
Yeah,
You really open yourself up to some really significant possibilities. People have been very courteous and very understanding in the time of COVID, but
you see the question.
inevitably you will get someone who is going to bomb your meeting.
Sure.
And that is a real factor. And that can be, it could be catastrophic. It could be small. It could be really ugly.
Under Waterfront update.
So that's a.
Oh, this is
that's a
under
tricky
Waterfront
one.
update.
And
That's
again,
not
I
anything to
mentioned
do with this one.
earlier, I'm not sure if I want someone from the West Coast necessarily coming into our meeting and asking all these questions and participating, and who knows who they are. One thought I had was maybe creating a group and having people join the group first, and then have it. So let's say it's Facebook. Then you could live stream the meeting just to that group. And have this is just something I've been brainstorming. I haven't really thought that fully through, but I really would like to think of a way to sort of keep the edges in as far as who joins remotely. Before this, if you wanted to join the meeting, you came and sat in the room.
Right.
And so there was a barrier to entry that I know we want to be inclusive, and I fully respect that. And I know the technology is here to be inclusive. It's a question of policy. If you can set those policies ahead of time, or as this goes into play, you can say, look, this is our policy.
The other part of this whole program is God forbid we ever have any kind of a pandemic that we had to shut down again. You will already have a system in place to do those hybrid meetings and somebody to manage it.
And the hybrid meetings are certainly a part of this. That's definitely something. The real advantage is you have a vendor who maybe can't make it to the meeting for some reason. They can zoom in. Just like I'm doing here, what I'm doing on my laptop, I could be doing this from my desk at home. Now it's 200 yards down the road.
It also gives you, the ability, if a selectman is on vacation, he wants to set into a meeting, he can zoom into that meeting and be part of that meeting. Pretty simple.
Yeah, the good news is you can connect from anywhere. The bad news is you can connect from anywhere.
No excuse to miss a meeting.
So you sure you want to do this?
Jeff,
Yes.
The town already has a website that could be modified somewhat to have people register and identify themselves as a Damascata resident, and to be checked against all the residents we have. And then once they're in that group or registered, then they could get access. And
It's a question of how you're going to present it, what the platform is. That's a great idea, and there's certainly ways of doing that. The technology for pulling the edges in, there are lots of ways of doing it. It's a question of what makes sense. And what I would like to make sure of is that it's not really cumbersome. Because if it's hard to use and cumbersome, people aren't going to use it. And that's a real factor. The ease of use is really important.
Well, we do in-house, but Becky specifically, Becky Carlotta.
So there are ways, that's certainly something we can address. A way to handle it is to live stream it over on, say, YouTube. And then it's available, it's automatically capturable that way. And then we could use the chat function instead of having, live actual voice questions. That's certainly a possibility. It's really just a factor of what you want to do, how interactive you want the meeting to be for remote participants.
You have to remember, if you're gonna include that chat, you're taking it to another step where somebody has to monitor that chat.
So there are factors, and again, it's a policy issue as much as it is a technology issue. If your policy is you want to ask questions, come to the meeting. Or if you want to ask questions ahead of time, you can look at the warrants and supply your questions, and we can answer them. We'll make sure we have a question and answer period where we address all those. it's an issue, but I think it's, if you can establish a policy, that is, I think, your best bet.
Well, I think that's, with your expertise, we'd probably like to have some recommendations to walk before we run, to go the safest route initially and try that out. So maybe we could think about that. And
Well, I think the easiest or the most straightforward way to do that from the beginning is to present a live stream where people can watch, they can hear and see it. And which is head and shoulders above what it's been, up until the last year.
but there's no interaction, right?
That's correct.
Well, that's safe.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and it means people have access to the meeting.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
if people have, and you know what? If you go by a few meetings and people have questions, and if they find out they could have asked the question ahead of time, if they could have read that content before and put their question in, there's some opportunity to, for community education,
Yeah.
maybe I should say.
There's a learning curve, like all technology.
So if we chose to go that route initially, you could do that day one, right?
The one thing, yes, I qualified a little bit because the town currently does not have a YouTube channel, so you need to set that up.
So we can
There's
set,
some setup involved, but it's not difficult. But being able to, and I think YouTube makes more sense than something like Facebook because it's a little more universal. You don't have to have an account. You don't have to have a Facebook account to get to it. We could stream it on both. If you wanted to stream it on Facebook, Facebook participants could see and hear it, and YouTube participants could also. So there are certainly, combinations there as well.
you can also share the link on your website, on your webpage. You give it to Becky,
Yeah.
and here's the latest meetings of the last month or whatever. And those links could be on there too.
They're talking about equipment to totally automate the meeting.
Yeah, I follow this. I want to say so.
It would probably make sense to keep it as simple as possible, starting out,
And my recommendation here with this PC is, you're already using Zoom, we're using Zoom tonight. Use Zoom to record the meetings. There's no reason you necessarily have to, you could present it that way and people could
I'll give you a better
join.
view of it.
And Zoom has the ability to stream out to YouTube and Facebook built in. So you can just say, click, stream to YouTube, and it's streamed. So you don't have to publish the Zoom meeting account. It's, we join, it could just be that PC in the room. And the Zoom session is being managed and recorded through Zoom, but it's being streamed to YouTube. If you needed someone to participate in a hybrid environment, then you're already using a platform to do that. You could just give them the meeting invite and then you join. So you could continue to use the tools you're using now, you just don't open it up the way you do. And it means if you do have someone who does really need to connect, and there are whatever those issues are, people can still join. It's really, again, it's a policy question. What your policy is for how you present your public meetings.
Any other questions from the board? I think it's great. I think it's something that we need to do. We have so many elderly people in this town and community that I think have now realized they can use that, and I think it'd be a big benefit to the taxpayer.
Agreed.
For your FYI, we're laying out the same kind of a program for Newcastle, and for the benefit of the county, Bristol's talking about it as well. Waldeboro's already got a system very similar to what this is, so we're trying to maybe get everybody on board to use the same system so that people, there are people in Damascotta that have business interest in Waldeboro or Newcastle. So it's a way for them to kind of unify the whole communication process for town politics or town meetings, select board meetings for all the major towns in the county. So it's kind of makes sense to have everybody using the same equipment.
And it's a natural fit for Lincoln County Television.
Yeah.
It's
Something we can do.
What should we be looking for in somebody that can administrate it during the meetings? We've got to find somebody to come and do that. Do you have any recommendations?
Well, that's what we plan on doing ourselves. Yeah, we'll provide the manpower. Like I was telling Matt, I guess last week, we can we can provide the manpower to set this up. I mean, we've already got a fair number of hours in designing this and Jeff laying it all out. I don't have the resources to put somebody in here. Now I can hire somebody, one of our guys, Jeff, myself, or a videographer can come in, but now you're talking after hours time. We're already here 40 hours a week plus anyway. So that's what I explained to Matt. I said, we don't have the resource. I don't have the financial resources to pay people to come in and manage this thing for you, but we can do that if I got the dollars to do it. And I suggested to Matt, if you took some out of your franchise fees and budgeted that towards the management and training somebody, because there's going to be 3 of us that know how to do it, but we'll also reach out to the community if anybody wants to learn how to do it and make, but you got to have the same small group of people. You can't just have anybody coming in, because that's going to, too many cooks are going to spoil the brew. If you have people that know what they're supposed to be doing, know how to set it up, run the meeting and tear it down, then you're going to have this, it's the same old adage, same mechanic working on the same engine, not 3 different guys coming in 3 different times.
So in that regard, the $100 a session is sort of like a grab thrown against the wall.
Yeah.
So that session would be, no matter if it's a short meeting or a long meeting.
It doesn't make any difference.
Okay.
That, Mark, that was the only way I could come up with, how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
You're going to ask somebody to come out at night after they've worked all day. And so you got to make it worth their while. Yeah.
Anybody, any other comments or questions from the? I'm all good. Go ahead. Good, okay, yeah. No, thank you guys.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. We're excited to move forward with
And
something here.
I have paper copies of these for you as well. of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
And
you. Yeah.
we're probably less than 30 days to put this together. If all the parts and pieces come in.
Okay.
I don't expect probably more than 10 days to order and receive. Shouldn't be any more than that. It shouldn't be. That's a technical thing. Should work. Should work. But let's say within 30 days, we can have this all up and running. And
It's something we really need to.
Yeah. How do we move forward, Matt, with this?
sorry.
Get an
I'll
LCTV
steal Matt's.
to go ahead to move forward on the plan they outlined.
If you get one, I can go make.
Okay, I have an electronic copy.
Yeah, we'll have to come up with,
Get you an electronic.
well, the 2,000 in equipment expense. Take that out of contingency, and then I'll have to get with Cheryl, we'll figure out how to pay for the staff.
What about technology funds?
We have 4,000 in the reserves for technology, and we have a new computer we have to buy for the tax collector. So,
Okay.
Well, I also think that we have those COVID money that was sent to the town that was put in place because of COVID, that we should be looking at utilizing those funds, because that's the whole idea of getting that out here. So,
I don't see this fitting into any of the categories, Matt. And unfortunately, those of you who've gone to the training on that from Lincoln County Planning, they're very narrow categories.
mhm.
And maybe there may be 2 that we fit into, but likely only 1. So we'll look for grant funds, but I don't see that being the source.
And how much money do we have of that, Matt?
But 214,500, and that's separate from the 6.9 million that the county gets.
And we haven't earmarked that money for anything yet.
No,
Larry, does any other town use those kind of funds for this kind of?
I believe Newcastle is looking at using those funds. See, they mentioned something about they had COVID money to use to put, because they have to buy a whole system. They're buying the cameras, they're buying stuff that you guys already have for their fire station over there where they're now doing their meetings. And that's, we're making the same presentation Monday night, but in the preliminary discussions with the town, acting town manager and one of the selectmen, that was what they thought that they had funds available to do, was out of that COVID money. I really am not educated enough to know what they're gonna do. And we are also talking to Bristol too about possibly doing something down there. They too are like Damascotta. They do have some parts and pieces. They are tired of using the disc, the CDs, and trying to get them sneaker express up to LCTV and whatnot. The digital just makes so much more sense because there's so many more things you can do to share it with so many different ways, so many different platforms. It's just a whole cleaner deal.
Yeah, I think board's in agreement. We like to move on with,
Okay.
yeah, look at this a little bit more.
You folks have the green light and we'll
Okay.
work with you on the type of equipment we need.
Sure, okay. I will have Jeff be talking with you on back and forth,
Okay.
and all we need to do is invoice you for the equipment so we can order it.
Okay.
And I don't know, is that, well, we can get that.
I do like, we talked about a mobile monitor or one attached to the wall. My preference would be to get one that's attached to the wall, because Josh, where he's sitting, would probably have trouble seeing that monitor.
I'm all good.
Are you good? Okay. I think it's better to, we save some space if we can push it closer.
I'm all set. Wherever you want to put it.
And we really don't have a need to roll it around town hall. And if we do have to go to a remote site, we always have our little projector we can fall back on.
Well, the other side of it, that stand is only $100 to put that TV on. So,
Okay.
so if it doesn't work on the wall for $100, you can have a stand.
Yeah. Yeah, we'd have to move the board with all the selectmen on it, but I think we could put that over there.
Move it around.
Yeah.
Details. So let's move.
Okay, that's my only thoughts.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, all set?
Yeah.
No.
I'm dismissed.
You're dismissed.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
If you could provide us with a motion on that, I think it would be good.
Would you like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we proceed with the LTV program as presented.
I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor? All right.
I just want to make sure you're aware, it doesn't have what we're talking about tonight doesn't have the Zoom capability where people that are watching now could ask questions live. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just so you're aware of that.
Figure out policy and mention about what we're gonna do.
We gotta take baby steps.
Let's move forward.
Yeah.
Move forward.
Security is really important.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kittens. All right, let's move on. Matt, any citizen comments or general?
No, I don't have anything on that.
Good,
that
okay.
item.
We can go to town manager items.
Sure. It's been a great week for capital improvements. Bristol Road, the final segment on the sidewalk was completed. The restroom was open for business, still some punch list items to get done, but those are in the works. The drainage project on Vine Street, between Vine Street and Church, is nearly done. Again, there's some punch list items on that have to be fixed. And our electric vehicle charging station was installed. It's probably been one of our best capital project weeks ever. So it's pretty exciting. On the waterfront improvement project, I've yet to hear back from EDA on the amendment that I submitted at your request to see if we could still get the funding with a 3-foot wall at the 11-foot elevation. So it's funny, the response I got is that well, first of all, there's no issue with funding what we've already purchased. We've already spent about $500,000 of grant money on the restroom, on these various other things, on the consultants, on the sewer, our share of the sewer improvements. So there's no risk at losing that money, but they're balking a little bit on building a wall that doesn't meet the CLOMA requirements of FEMA. So I think they're debating in-house on whether or not they can find some additional money for us. And as you know, got mixed feelings about that, because if they give us additional money, I would like it to be for a wall where you can see through the top 2 feet. I don't want to, I don't think it'd be appropriate. I don't think the citizens and businesses would like a 5-foot solid wall. So we'll see what they say. I was hoping to hear back in time for this meeting, but I did not. As soon as I hear back, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Daryl gave a great interview with Don Kerrigan this morning, and so He's once again going to be a TV star. And we also had Susan Murphy, and then I called the Rennies, and John Rennie showed up for the interview. So they probably have a piece on tonight, you know, they'll give us probably 20, 30 seconds of a 45-minute video. But then Don said that they're going to do a special climate change feature in the fall. And we'll get a lot of airtime on that because we are one of the first coastal communities to be actually moving forward on some flood resiliency efforts, which nice, you know, pretty exciting stuff. Mentioned the restroom, but you know, I've been down there a few times in the last few days. They're doing a booming business in the restroom, so we were able to get the cleaning supplies and get it all cleaned up. So we're staying on top of that. We budgeted an hour a day of the seasonal labor for that in our 2022 budget. Unfortunately, we don't have the seasonal labor yet. The other part of that was we were going to use the traffic parking administrator to check on the rooms during the day, but we haven't been able to hire anybody there yet either. So we're doing the best we can with the staff we have. So it is going pretty well. The electric vehicle charging station, the publicity on that will go out as soon as we get the appropriate signage up. So, but we will be, this Evan Gutowski is the expert on electric vehicles. I think we'll be the only charging station between Wiscasset and Belfast.
Bath and Thomaston. That's public.
Bath and Thomaston.
There's one in Newcastle at the distillery, but this will be on public property. So.
Okay. So we'll be on the website that people are able to access through their apps, and
the location will be on that.
Yeah, so we're giving Kobe and Gale a lot of competition with our electric fuel. So
Where's it located?
it's located right next to the restrooms in the parking spaces adjacent to Taco Alley. There's two of them.
It's gonna get a lot of use in it.
I rode down to LLB's. I don't think they would be, it's unbelievable how many stations they have, and it's full, just full all the time.
Are they full now?
All the
Because
time.
I remember when they first opened, we talked about this, they were just empty. The rest of the lot was full, and these empty parking, okay. It's changing pretty fast. Yeah.
Now, so yeah. Definitely a necessity.
Let's see, other capital projects.
I do have a question
Yeah.
on the restrooms. Should we have some kind of outside surveillance? You can't go inside, but should we have something on the outside targeting people going in the event of vandalism?
Yeah, I've talked to Tidewater about that, and we have some police department grant money for cameras. I'm not sure where we're at with that, but we did get some money. And what we want to do is put the launch area on a video monitoring system and the front of the restaurant. So, yeah, I think that's important. We will have a locking system on there, and I think to start off, we'll have the buildings, the two restrooms locked from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. and then open during. And we'll see how that works. If people want them open later or earlier or whatever.
Start with something.
Well, special occasions.
Yeah, and
I'm not impressed.
just on capital improvements, you know, we have our new LED lighting system with our super control system. I wasn't able to get the lights installed in the downtown lot in time to control the lights during the fireworks.
I wondered
So
about that.
sorry, yeah.
Yeah,
I was
looking around and
Yeah.
going, oh,
Yeah.
it should be your turn.
Yeah, John Roberts asked me about it, and I said, oh, sorry, can't do it. I have my phone, but
Not gonna work.
I'm not hooked up yet. I think he told me July 28th we'll have those on, so we'll have them for next year and for any other
Is that all
events.
they have
The
left?
drive-in, if we have the drive-in movies again, I don't know. Yeah.
Great.
So workshop on annual goals. We've got that set for July 21st, so I'm starting to work on those now. That'll be basically an update from what we have in place. The priority is going to be waterfront project for me. And then I know Mark had asked for the charter amendments, that we'll have something in there on that, and then just some other items, but not too many new ones. The board, you'll have your chance to review the draft and add and.
When is that gonna be on the 21st?
Well, do you want it, that's a good question. Do you want it before or after your regular meeting? We could do it at 4:30, or we could do it as soon as the meeting ends.
Probably after, it's after probably.
Okay, is that,
Struggle.
And if this will help at all, I think we should have a workshop just on the town charter where we can actually walk through.
right, yeah, and that's what I had.
Yeah.
And we can do
Two
that at a
separate,
different
yeah.
time, so.
Yeah, I just asked if you want to, set a date for that as a separate workshop.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I think
The annual goals on the 21st after, and then the following meeting.
the following meeting, so August, first week in August?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll do the charter review workshop after as
excellent.
well.
And then and then we'll also do that after the regular meeting.
Yeah, I think that works.
I'm gonna turn the spotlight over to our management intern, Evan Gutkowski, to talk about the broadband research he's been doing.
So I just have been operating from a standpoint. Sure.
Thanks.
Going out globally across the land. So I basically started from square one, as if you guys had nothing. And then we moved on from there to see what Connect Maine's doing with their grants and what the town of Amherst is going to need to basically, I'm going to recommend when I give you my full thing to obviously get everybody to 100% fiber to every home. That's the goal. Met with Alan Hinsey, got information from Charter about coverage, who doesn't have coverage.
Explain who Alan is.
Alan is
He's the
marketing guy
marketing,
for LCI.
Yeah.
So basically seeing the landscape forming in the next year or two, the amount of federal money, state money, however much money's coming around, what's going to put you guys in the best position going forward. And what's basically trying to position yourself so that you're putting in the least amount from the town's perspective for cash, and then having either the grant money or LCI or whoever else pick up the rest. And that's the objective right now. Basically, in a little bit of rough research, I can probably estimate it's probably between 100 and 120 homes that have nothing that fit under the unserved definition right now, which is 25 by 3, 25 megabits download speed, 3 megabits upload speed. So depending on, that's what you need for Connect Maine grant money. Right off into the future, I'm gonna recommend that the town forms a broadband committee, because that's pretty much a first step to getting any grant money going ahead. And they, depending on what goes on in the future, there's interest. Newcastle's doing their own thing. I'm meeting with Newcastle either this week or next week to get caught up on their end. Plus the county's trying to get everybody under one umbrella, at least from where Tidewater owns the poles. They're going to have the cheapest way of getting everybody in this area out. So that's who you're stuck with, or who you've got, depending on how you want to look at it. Yeah. Any questions? All right.
So what you're saying is you want to get all homes at 100%?
Everybody with fiber. That would be the goal for, I think, the future. Everybody's got cable now, but cable, they sell you up to 200 megabits. You got, I don't know what every one of your internet is like at your house, but yeah, they sell you one thing and you get another.
Yeah.
So the goal is eventually to get to fiber, and then worry about expansions after that, because less and less money has to be put into the infrastructure of it.
I thought that was underground for the most part, though.
Which,
Fiber.
nope.
No?
LCI runs almost all of theirs over the air, and they're not very excited about going underground, but some places obviously they're going.
We had a great presentation with them back a month ago from LCI. It was very informative, right?
Yeah, and if you guys ever want me to fill in the blanks from an impartial perspective, we can do that too. Just because I'm going to be talking with Krista Thorpe from the Island Institute about what they did in Bremen. I've talked to Chris Hall in Bristol, Mary Ellen Barnes about what the county's aspect of what they're trying to do. And more or less, once a broadband committee is formed, and then the town can put up some money for some consulting, and they'll put up, Casco Bay Advisors does a lot of the last Connect Maine grant money round. They got 9 out of 10 of what they put forward for consulting. So they put together a full package, do a rough breakdown of what it's going to cost to get all of the fiber they need, get on every pole, and then get to the homes. And then mix and match between what the town's going to put forward, what the grant money is going to look like, and what LCI is willing to bring to the table. So it all ends up, we're trying to make them pay for it. We don't want this, they're going to get subscriber fees, and they like to think they're not going to, at least from their soft perspective, to be frank.
I
But
just want somebody else to pay for it.
One of the approved
That's the
uses, this goes back to Mark's earlier question, one of the approved uses of the American Rescue Plan dollars is broadband. So, hopefully we can use some of our 214,000 plus and tap into some of the county's 6.9 million for Evan's talking about.
yeah, and I don't know about speaking at a school or inside baseball, but I think consulting to figure out the full scope of the project is probably somewhere between 10 and 20,000 is probably what they're looking at. And they go out and do all of I did the rough job of what they're going to do house to house to house and figure out who's got what, who doesn't have what, because Spectrum's not going to tell you. LCI has given me most of their stuff, but it's not completely up to date. But
to get into the queue for grant money, well, especially the Connect Maine money, we need both an advisory committee, a citizens committee, and a consultant.
that would be the best to get all the
That
ducks in a
puts us
row.
the best.
And then in the next year, when a lot of money, there's going to be a lot more money coming in, I think. So it's a good time to get on the wagon.
So it's that time sensitive is something we should look into.
I would definitely
As soon as
look at
possible.
getting the committee together and figuring out the consulting by the end of the year. That's what I would say.
I'd love to.
Priority goal.
I'd love to piggyback on Newcastle's work and
They would definitely help from the perspective of having more people that qualify as unserved. And I think that's kind of what the county's thinking is rope everybody together that's naturally in the Tidewater area, that they have the poles, and then go from there and expand from there. Of course, every town's different. You're going to have some towns that want to do everything homegrown and keep it in-house, but so be it. Cooperation is key. Saves a little bit of
cost.
yeah. I don't want you guys paying for everything in Newcastle and Bristol, but yeah. It'll save a little bit of money and grant money and everything else.
Good. Thank you. Yeah. Any questions, any comments to the board?
Appreciate your help.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, glad to be here.
And Evan is I should have said this in the way of an introduction, he's a graduate student at the Muskie School for the University of Southern Maine. Did I say that right?
Yep, you got it.
And
I'm from
so we're thrilled to
Wiscasset,
have
so
him.
that's a little bit more about my background. From Wiscasset, and I'm an assessor's agent in Westport as well. So that's where I'm coming from.
Thank you. Good, yeah. All right.
This wasn't meant to be a sequitur. To the assessor's agent.
Well, that's weird.
So, as you know, Matt Murphy resigned, and we are okay as far as tax commitment goes. Jim Murphy from Murphy Appraisal Services is going to help us through tax commitment, although we've got it pretty well nailed down already. I think the major deal is when we meet with the Board of Assessors, which is all of you wearing another hat. We want to be able to give you options of different mill rates and how much that'll raise, depending on how much of an overlay you want. So that's kind of the big factor, the big reason we'll have Jim here is he'll be able to give you those options. But as far as the rest of the form goes for the state. And Matt's already filled out the assessed valuation portion of that, and I'm filling out the budget information. We're in pretty good shape, but the worry, of course, is going forward after that. Jim Murphy is not available to fill in, doesn't have anybody on his staff to do that, so we're looking at some options there. So I'll be talking to you more about that down the road. And then the last item I had was the police department standard operating procedures manual, as I mentioned in the town manager notes. I read through the charter again. This was one area that we did not do. After the first year, after his appointment, the chief is supposed to provide the board with a copy of the standard operating manual. And I've seen it, I've reviewed it, but I haven't provided it to the board. So what I did is I sent you a copy of the table of contents, and maybe that's the place to start if you want to see any of those particular procedures, or if you want to just come in and the chief can give you the book and let you thumb through it, however you want to do that.
I talked to the chief already, I'm all good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm all for going in and taking a look individually. I think it'd be impractical to have one person read the book and come up with comments for everybody else's opinion. I mean, that'd be impossible, so delegating to one person doesn't, I don't think that's practical.
Okay, all right,
Yeah,
that's fine.
I'm set. The chief, has it. He's provided it to you, Matt, and I mean, I'm satisfied with that as far as, yeah, get a chance to look through
Okay.
it. But
Well, if you'd like, Tom, if you want to come in, just let me know, or, you can contact the chief directly if you.
Yeah, I mean, if you just got questions and concerns, I just looked over all the table. He could give you a brief overview.
Yeah. I think that the key part of that manual is making sure that the officers know it, and that's, that's an important part of their training, so it's a lot to know.
Yeah.
And, but it's good if the board could at least view it and understand the multifacets of this, the multiple facets of the job.
A lot of moving parts there.
Yeah. Okay, and then, an official action. Do you want to move to official action?
Yeah, we're all set.
Kind of jumping ahead.
No, that's fine. Anybody have any questions on manager's items or anything? Go on to official action items.
And
Historical preservation.
yeah, I copied the email that I sent out yesterday on this. It was yesterday, yesterday evening. So my recommendation, now that you have 5 members on the commission, my recommendation is to appoint Emily Davy to a 2-year position and Roger Panic to a 3-year position. They would be the 2 new members on the board, on the commission. And then Susan Murphy was appointed to a 1-year term because we had to stagger the members initially and stagger the terms of the members. So her term is up this month. So I'm asking you to reappoint her for a 3-year term. I've talked to her about it and she's happy to continue.
And Susan wants to do it? Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Well, that's good. We have some.
So those are my recommendations.
I'll make a motion to approve the appointment of Roger Panic and Susan Murphy for a 3-year term on the Historic Preservation Commission and Emily Davy for a 2-year term.
Second? Second. 2 seconds. Any discussion? No? All in favor? All right. We'll thank them for getting involved.
Yeah.
Right. The confirmation on the road, can we table that until after?
You can. I have, I wasn't sure how the board wanted to do this, so I have Hugh Creevy waiting in his office. He's keeping himself busy, but if you want to pull him in for any questions or after the executive session, whether you want to talk to him or at least hear what action you take, whatever you'd like.
Check with the.
But just wanted to let you know
It's up to
You want to wait on that?
I'd wait and we'll do the other stuff
Okay,
first.
all right.
Number 3, Matt, order of municipal
Yeah.
officers.
This is a routine item, and it just says that one of our staff members went to a training a few years ago and said this needs to be a municipal order. So that's why we have it on the agenda once a year. And this just simply says that if if you're delinquent in your taxes and you're making tax payments, the oldest tax bill gets paid first.
To make a motion every year, make a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt the order that authorizes and directs the tax collector to apply any tax payments against any outstanding or delinquent taxes in chronological order, beginning with the oldest unpaid tax bill.
I will second.
2 seconds. Any discussion? Good, all in favor?
Thank you.
Is that all?
And please, oh gosh, I know you don't like Thomas. We're gonna change that. I apologize for that. Just saw it.
On my birth certificate, that's it.
Let's put it number 4. We've got the bulletproof vest grant.
We have an excellent opportunity to get reimbursed for the half the cost of that, but we need to front end the full amount, and we are in need of replacing our bulletproof vests. Okay, so I'm asking you to approve the full amount of $53.95 using the same vendor that we've used in the past, and then also authorize us to submit the application for a grant to reimburse us for half.
There, motion.
I'll move that we approve the budget of 53, what is it?
95.
95 for the purchase of new police bulletproof vests.
I'll second.
We need to have the grant, the approval for the grant in there as well, motion. Okay, we're just gonna, add the application for the grant. Okay. Mark seconds, any discussion? All right, all in favor? Okay. And the cemetery deed.
This for Tom's benefit, the town municipal officers have to approve all deeds that involve town property, and even though they're very small pieces of property, you have to approve the deeds for each cemetery plot. So we ask you to approve 2 documents, the cemetery deed and the perpetual care agreement, each time we sell a cemetery lot.
Any motion on the
I'll
table?
make a motion to approve the cemetery deed perpetual care agreement with Raymond M. Simmons Jr.
Second.
Seconds, all right, any discussion? You good? Yeah, all in favor?
Okay, and there's 2 documents here for you to sign on that.
Yeah, official action items. We can do, you guys can do selectmen's discussions now, then we'll move into executive session.
Discussion.
Okay, yeah, we'll go around, we'll start down on Tom's end. Yeah.
Well, I told a couple of you, I had to leave at 7, and I know the major issue for discussion is going to be on the public works issue. But I would tell you that I would abstain from a vote anyway. I don't have enough history here to really be, to have an opinion. I really don't have enough. All of you have a lot more history on this, and I don't think I can provide much.
Fair enough, Tom. Lou, you have anything tonight?
I just was wondering if we still have heard anything about the property or the chamber.
The information center. I asked them, I sent them a note. By them, I mean the Maine Department of Transportation last week, asked where they were on the appraisal, and they said they hadn't started on it yet. And our contact person said that she would remind them again to start the process. So, you know, we were churning to go a year ago on this, and they're just not moving as quickly as everyone would like.
And I would like to comment, I thought the rest road looked great. And I thought the contractor did an excellent job.
Mark?
You know, one of the concerns I have is not having adequate time to make sure that we're taking care of our new restrooms. I really think that it should be done twice a day to stay on top of it, because other towns have had situations where it's just gets neglected and it gets a bad name. And to spend that much money on that restroom would be a shame not to take care of it like you should.
So in conjunction with Mark, I think we need to have a restroom protocol. We ought to have a policy in case of emergency, call this number. Who we're gonna have an emergency for a plumber. Everything should be spelled out ahead of time, so whoever's on that emergency number, just look to your policy, make the contact. Everything should be done. You know, probably should have been done before we opened the facility, so. We should have something listed.
Yeah, the only thing we had,
We just can't keep calling the police department for an emergency number or the fire department.
yeah, we had, you know, what we have in place now is basically what we've been doing. We had budgeted an hour a day and budgeted for the supplies, but we can do a formal protocol. We can do that.
Yeah,
We ought to
we're
have
new-
something, we're spending that.
We're new to
spending
the
that
restroom
money.
business, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Discussed earlier about the cleaning situation. And,
How it goes out.
Plan A right now is we've been either plan B in the city.
What happens if someone's in there that door automatically locks?
Well, they can get out.
For locks.
You never know.
You
Yes,
never know, I'm just telling you.
situations, yeah.
Just be ready to
We need to
deal with
take care
all the things you need to do, so. Sorry.
That's all I have. No, that's
Yeah.
Uh,
We obviously-
How are we doing on the Church Street design, sidewalk design? Are they on a timetable or?
They're still on the timetable. They had some questions for me 2 weeks ago, so I know that they're working on the design process. I believe that the survey work is completed, and I'm trying to think what they asked me about. It had to do with the right of way on the south side of the road to see if we could move the road over as you get toward Main Street to allow for some additional room. And we do have the right of way there. I just needed to confirm that with them.
Must be worried about Jimmy Campbell's trees.
Yeah, that's the only place where it really gets really snug. It's, the trees and the wall up on that end.
If I can piggyback on Josh's, really need to make sure that our engineers are giving us true numbers, because I think there's gonna be some concern about these projects that we have coming up, and then we're not gonna have the money. We think that we need this amount of money, when reality is things are a lot more.
Definitely.
But the engineers are getting paid though. The engineers are getting paid. That's all.
I think I'm good now, Barry.
All right, good, yeah. No, I don't have much other than the bathrooms. Great, long time we needed that. And the fireworks, it was really nice to see some people in town and the fireworks going off. And it was much needed break, I think, for everybody, so.
Yeah.
We appreciate everybody involved in that and the volunteers and the fire department and the police being out and everything, so.
Chris Roberts.
Yeah, for sure, so.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all I have, so. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Oz.
Good night.
Thank you for all you do.
So what is the statute that we need to list off for the executive sessions?
I put it in your town manager, or my town manager notes.
We don't adjourn, right?
No, the meeting continues, but you move into executive session. But you could, if you want to be excused now.
No, I'm just saying, this is still on open to the public.
Once the motion is made to move into executive session, we excuse everybody except the board and me, and we turn off the recorder.
Okay, we make a motion.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
Okay.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session under 1 MRSA 4056A. Executive session.
I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor?
And this is just to be in compliance with the statute. This is for the purpose of reviewing the town manager's appointment of the road commissioner. So,
All right.
have fun.
Now, executive session.